Today is January 1st, 2025, so that's it for 2024. 2024 is a wrap, so let's take some time to reflect upon it for board gaming. And a couple of announcements before we head into the best and worst of 2024. First, it's a personality test, which I spent about 4 months making, is finally done with the video to support it. Also, I'm seeing you guys in the comments. Yes, I have made a page on our website that now details every single personality type. Woohoo. Again, I'll be continuing to support this and add more to it, so your feedback is all really beneficial. The other thing for 2024 is that we really committed to Instagram. I took a dive around August last year, and we have more than doubled our followers since then. I mean, we didn't start with much anyways there, but that's another side mission I'm committed to. Our Insta gets posted multiple times a week, including fun behind the scenes, photo shoots, and probably most importantly, fun reels we just can't post as long form videos.
You play Catan?
No.
You play, what do you like, Warhammer?
No.
You don't have to, Dad. It's kind of embarrassing.
Call your mother.
I kind of think of it as a spiritual successor to the board game stereotype videos. Also, this video we've been shooting on for almost 5 years, we upgraded it with that one. Let me show you guys. Yep, we're shooting pretty much everything on that one now. It has a different look to it for sure, in terms of the picture quality. There's a whole bunch of other technical benefits on our end, but I'll be working on the color grading, okay? This is just a whole nother thing for me to improve on. Just make things look better. Now on to the list, and for the complete honesty, we will talk about the worst board game I had last year. That is the most unpleasant experience, and that is back in March. It is Fortune and Glory, the reprinted anniversary edition. Again, nothing at all against the team that made this game. It's just that this is the worst update reprint of a game I've ever played because it looks like they changed pretty much nothing. Actually, I just looked this up and they completely delayed this release, which is probably a good thing, but this worst gaming still stands in 2024. So I went into this 1940s Indiana Jones themed Ameritrash game with very high expectations, since I was enamored by this on Will Wheaton's tabletop many years ago. And seeing how I read you like Eldritch, a slightly similar cooperative Ameritrash where it's all story and vibes over substance, yeah, that sounds like the Fortune and Glory formula. And Fortune and Glory was pretty much worse than Eldritch Horror in every way, including the treasure hunter Indiana Jones theme, which could have been way more fleshed out. On the get-go, there's pixelated cards, confusing rules, and unnecessary confusing and ultimately unimpactful mechanics. What do I mean by that? Well, the highlight of this game is get artifacts, which translates to wasted feeling turns, as you just sit in a space and try to get artifacts by rolling dice again and again. And the counters very quickly got repetitive with not much variety in the decks, and an extremely basic dice rolling system. So there are two modes, competitive and cooperative, and both were not good. The competitive mode just felt like complete RNG and who would win, as you just play strong city cards on other adventurers to win. The cooperative mode just felt like there was zero chance of us losing ever, which translates into no tension and just feeling like you're mucking around. Also, the enemy boss bad German generals just stand around doing nothing most of the time for being seemingly interesting at the get-go. This just hit hard because I was so hyped for it, I was hyping up others, and I was just wrong. And the game was so long in cooperative. Cooperative was easily, at least 3.5 hours. It's been like 9 months since we played. The game was really long, and the whole time it never felt like we would lose. So yeah. My one buddy Adam, tasked to teach the game, thought it was a 1 out of 10 for him, and he was just angry at the game. But I do agree with his complaints, and you just kind of have to be constantly role-playing and twisting the rules to get the best out of this game. For Fortune and Glory being 13 years old, it was certainly kind of passable for its time in Ameritrash, but in 2024, nah, not so much. Hey, they're not all winners, right? And this really made me think, I should probably revisit Eldritch Horror and see if I like it as much as I think I do. Will I play this in 2025? Who knows? I always say I'm gonna play it. I never do. We'll see. Now, before moving on to the best gaming of 2024, I want to talk about the hardest review to make, and that was Martin Wallace's Bloodstones. This one just took a lot longer than expected because the scope and content of the review kept changing as I kept playing matches. At first, I thought it was gonna be a quick review because I played it way back when it was in the Kickstarter campaign at a 1v1. I thought it was great. Then when my friend received his copy, I was like, yeah, let's just play it a couple times multiplayer, then make the review easy peasy. And then Daniel pointed out the steep imbalance and how the game felt very standard for area control, and as such the recommender score and my personal score started to drop more and more. But we covered every single mode, and I'm very happy that the review is out. Okay, now it's time to discuss the best gaming. We have 5 games to mention with 4 honorable mentions, so let's mention these 4 runner-ups right now. First is Dune War for Arrakis. There was one game where I was the Fremen and almost won against Harkonnen, and since that's such a hard feat with the objective RNG for the Fremen and the asymmetry imbalance, and I was Dune fanboying over the interactions of Paul Atreides launching a huge attack into Carthage, it was certainly a great or excellent moment in those final rounds. Now, this is the peak of War for Arrakis, and this moment wasn't enough to make this list for certain. And I still stand by, well, why didn't I just play Star Wars Rebellion instead for this amount of time length for 1v1? And maybe that's why I didn't have enough time to play Star Wars Rebellion this year, because I was playing Dune War for Arrakis. Second honorable is Star Wars Unlimited. I participated in an in-house draft of the third set, and I thought my deck was okay, and while I don't remember much of the matches I played, the first one against Alexander was extremely tense. I tried very hard to get around this guy who is from The Mandalorian, and I kept healing Alexander even though I had the edge, and so ultimately while I had a good lead, I just lost very slowly. I do hope to be participating in another draft next year. The third is Ashes Reborn. I whipped it out on my friend who's a huge card game veteran to play 3 games of it back to back. And if I go too deep on the details, this video is gonna take forever. But basically the game is still as satisfying as always. It's so fun to manipulate the mana. It's just hard for me personally to find competitors to play in real life. The fourth is Last Word. It's always a delight when I whip this out with the right group. There's no particular moment I can latch onto here, but this was just a great vibes game for me in 2024. My good old reliable Last Word. Okay, so I filmed this video and then I was thinking about the whole year in the shower, and then this one had to be mentioned. The True Space 4X Master of Orion at Astra. Our 2-player game was actually brilliant from it. It was so entertaining mixing its economic system with a snappy skirmish-like gameplay. The Clackon guys here are really fun to do their ability. Yeah, this one was a banger. So I lied, there's 5 honorable mentions instead of 4. Now for the top 5 games that caused the most interesting moments, the most memorable moments of last year, number 5 is gonna be Incan Gold. If you were to tell me in 2019 or 2020 that this game was going to be my top game of 2024, I would have called you crazy. After we made the review of this one, the previous version of this, which was our second review ever, Incan Gold. Frick, that was a dumb idea.
We already picked up a lot of ones on the floor.
I just forgot the game. I was like, yeah, it's just a standard push your luck party game. But Incan Gold has slowly crept itself back in our group. And in this year, it got a crazy resurgence. One is because I realized how darn accessible it is. It's so little time and brain power to create hilarious moments that works with any friend group. I wasn't tired playing it with new people constantly because each person does their own twist on mathing the gems and saying how non-chicken they are. It's so amusing to see everyone's take on, I'm not soft, I'm going in again. Flip, and they could be lying, they might not be. The second resurgence is that there's a new version, which adds some really nice quality of life things, which are very much appreciated. It also makes artifacts scale into late game, and there's a mini expansion that is quite hype. And that's where one of the best highlights of last year happened a week ago. A friend and I both joked about exiting for fun early in a round because there was a round modifier that if you leave alone, you actually don't leave and keep exploring. However, I thought he was joking about leaving because it was so early, even when he flashed the exit card to me. So I decided to exit for fun, because then I wouldn't actually leave. Then we reveal, and then we both ended up exiting. So that was funny, and we were cursing at each other for actually leaving because there's so much money to be had in the round. And then the next card was a second copy of a threat to kill everyone else inside. So actually the joke was on everyone that decided to stay in that round. Both my friend and I ended with 2 money for the round.
On your face!
Oh. That is tragic. That is so tragic.
Oh my god!
Oh. A grand of 2 gems. Beautiful.
Number 4 is Twilight Imperium 4. So this was the biggest board game event of the year for me, where we prepped very intricately beforehand to make sure we actually finished a 6-player game, because we haven't been able to finish one for 3, 4 sessions in a row. Kind of crazy. I bought a nice 3D insert off Etsy to make organization much better. My friend had us draft factions and map segments before the game, and we 100% set up the game before everyone arrived. Another wrinkle is that we bought in the codex expansion that my friend bought off of eBay. And man, do the faction reference cards really help, and for me are worth the price of this new edition alone. And I decided to be cheeky and play as a new faction, Caleres, which are like space police, and I quite enjoyed their gameplay. So we go into the match with POK, the codex expansion, and the game fully set up. We start playing, and I'm getting some TI rust off of me, missed playing pretty early, but what really catches my eye is that Daniel was playing as the Empress of Muat, per usual, to wield war suns around the board. And he was just trading his faction alliance to give someone else a war sun for dirt cheap. Look, it felt like the deal of the century. I got the War Sun tech for the price of 1 trade good on round 2. So at the end of round 2, I actually made my big move. I swooped into Mechaltorect for 1 big fight against Daniel. My army, including the Nomad flagship I'm borrowing through an alliance, that all destroys his war sun. It gives me Mechatol and my secret objective. I had politics for that round, meaning that I also stacked the agenda deck with the card that lets players vote to give someone a victory point. And now I have Mechatol Rex, so I have a ton of voting power. Then when it was time to vote, I flipped my once per game so that each person that voted against me here gives me a command counter and a trade good. Woohoo! But that just didn't go so well because my neighbor freaking negated that agenda, and so I just planned to hunker down to Mechatol Rex to score Imperial. The problem is, and this is why this match of TI4 isn't higher on this list, is that we didn't finish the game. We had to end a round early, and then Daniel ended up winning because he had really good tempo from just making these really reckless trades early on to get victory points. Like, remember how I said I got a War Sun tech for 1 trade good? Well, that 1 trade good gave him 1 victory point early on. So looking back on this game, yes, I made some big negotiation misplays, but I thought I had a shot of getting 2nd or 3rd if the game went to true time. But I guess we just can't end a game on time. And during the game, Daniel was stressing that for him, TI4 with POK is more like Sidereal Confluence, and that you're trading like crazy, and that's super fun, and going into debt is the way to play. But I think that's only one small section of TI4 for me. I enjoy making the really cool plays that have the negotiation layered around it, not constantly trading like it's Sidereal. And so this actually spurred me to play TI4 with a lower player count, that is 4 players. What? Wait, what? But the politics, Ashton. You can't do politics with only 4 players in TI4. Well, the thing is, I actually want to finish a game of TI4, and I don't need the excessive politics like some of the other players that I play TI4 with. But wait. No, TI4 is such a casual game. Why are you tryharding? Why are you practicing? Well, I'm not doing it to only do better, but I'm doing it to just enjoy the world of TI4 and enjoy the mechanics and to get more understanding of all the factions, because now there's so many factions with such steep asymmetry with POK. Before POK, I pretty much knew all the factions. Now, with POK, I'm kind of fuzzy on what people are doing with all the things. And we have the codex on top of that. So if I can just keep playing TI4 at a faster time with less players and creating all these cool memories, why not? Why not see all the once per games actually trigger in a game? So we'll get back to this later in this video. The 3rd best gaming is Dune Imperium Uprising in August. This was kind of like experiencing Dune Imperium for the first time, which I thought was an 8 out of 10 back in the day, but this was better in every way for an uprising in our pants. So this match was a great group, starting with our Dune Imperium #1 fanboy, then a fellow Dune fan, then Daniel, who was a bit iffy on the system, but was initially impressed with the changes, and then me, whose enjoyment of Dune Imperium, with and without the 2 expansions, has been trending downwards. And this match of Dune Imperium was awesome. Mechanically, the fact that sandworms give double the rewards is already way more conflict and juice for late game. And they gave victory points for collecting certain conflict cards, which is genius for interaction. Spies make worker placement more interesting, the cards are more interesting to buy, utility spaces actually mean more, and you don't rush Swordmaster because it's more expensive. They fixed Highliner. I could just go on and on here. This is what I wanted the expansions of Dune Imperium to be like. And Paul Denon, you done it. You done it. This is awesome. In the final moments of this game, I was pressuring the win of a conflict to win the game. I thought I really had it with over 15 strength until Daniel pulled some Yu-Gi-Oh combo out of his butt to draw through his entire deck to deny me the conflict. Then we were both weakened for next round, and then the round after that, he came out of force and won the game. But I was so close to winning, I just wish I could remember more, but yeah, there's been so much gaming since then. Granted, okay, we only played this game once, and I do kind of have the inkling suspicion that just like the original Dune Imperium, it could get a little bit repetitive for me once I play the game more and see all the viable cards and understand all the faction, all the character nuances, but time will tell on this. I've only played this game once, I played it twice solo, and we didn't finish a 3-player game. So really only just one multiplayer game. Who knows where this will stand, but we're gonna do the 6-player mode before we make the review. Like, look, I already shot all the slider shots. Now, the number 2 game on this list that was almost my favorite gaming of this year is gonna be Personal Vendetta. This is a card game where you're clones fighting in someone's mind, as players buy cards from a single deck that is the brain. This isn't in my top 10 games currently, but one 1v1 game I played against Pranav really blew me away. We both realized halfway through a game that you could combo super hard off of spending your discard. Then you could flip cards off of the deck into the buying area. Then there's a card that does damage that scales off of the buyable cards. So I realized he was going for that, and so I was racing to kill him before he could combo me off. And we both thought he was 1 damage short until, and we got it all on camera.
Okay. Yeah, do your 14 damage.
Alright, okay.
And then you would play that card first.
Bitch, remember 1. I got so fucking lucky, so I ticked down once. Then 15 heart. Which, do you have a reaction to the 15 heart?
No, I do not. Yeah. So where is this game if it's so good? Well, we made a complete review on it, but the release of the game has been indefinitely postponed because the designer is going through some personal stuff. But yeah, the game is good. I don't even have a copy of the game anymore, but man, am I excited to publish the review when we get to do it. Oh, it's also the best rulebook I read last year. There's a print to play on the website with some of the cards if you're really curious about playing. Okay, so number one, the best gaming on this list is after I talk about our coffee and our patrons. Thank you guys so much for supporting us. This really means a lot. Coffee is something we launched, I guess it'd be the end of last year now, the end of 2024. So that's another way to support us. We also got our Mad Lads of Cardboard, our esteemed Mad Lads of Cardboard who support us at the highest tier on Patreon. And also I have to bring up my favorite video by far to make in 2024, which is the one day covering 10 board game stores in the Bay Area. This was such a journey that Pranav and I planned for many weeks, and we even had to completely change the filming day.
Sadly, that wouldn't work. Thank you, though. About half the places that I'm looking at are closed specifically on like Monday and Tuesday. So it would significantly increase our chances if we chose a different day.
Okay. But it was worth the trek, and going with Pranav and Adam and company all around the Bay to sample these places lives rent-free in my head. We're gonna have more of these vids in the future because they do well and are super fun to make. And so, we get to it. The best gaming that I had of 2024, and this was actually 2 days ago, TI4. Yes, I'm kind of cheating. I included TI4 twice on this list, but this one is the 4-player game I was mentioning. We've never done 4-player before, so this is a whole new experience for me. And guess what? We actually finished the game. We finished the game of TI4. We did it. But I still didn't win. I got second place. Otherwise, it would have been one of the best TI4 games ever. But let's get into this breakdown. Today is the day. January 30th, we will finish TI4. It'll be the best.
It would be a holiday miracle.
Exactly, a Christmas miracle. Yeah, we'll finish. Yeah. I played the Yin Brotherhood, cause screw it. I know they're kinda weak, but I got buffed with the codex. And their abilities to brainwash, then convert other players' infantry to their side is insanely hilarious. And then from round 1, I knew it was gonna be interesting as I got Mechatol through 2 people letting me take off command tokens from the board. And so on round 2, I left Mechatol to start exploring the Mahak Gene Sorcerer side of the map, getting an exploration card that let me build my flagship immediately in that space for influence. And so I have this Yin flagship that's fairly close to my friend's base that blows up everything in its space when it dies. And so it's just a giant deterrent to everything around it. I can just imagine so easily these crazy Yin cultists just loading up this huge flagship full of TNT and atomic bombs, whatever explosives, and then just sending it over, just flying it over to their opponent's fleets. 4 players also has all the strategy cards taken, where each player gets 2. So there's constantly strategy cards being triggered in rounds, and as such, the strategy command counter economy feels different. Also, the negotiation, while obviously not as nuanced as 6 players, was still interesting. Alex and I suspected that the game would become a boring 2v2 at some point, especially as you look at this map. Highlight of the game was using the Yin Brotherhood once per game to cause land invasions in up to 3 different planets. So it's kind of like, here all brothers, we rise again and take Mechatol Rex under our enemies' noses and convert them to our side. They'll see the truth. And so I could take Mechatol and be able to use its influence, all while my fleet was not the greatest, but hey, they can't kill my infantry on Mechatol, huh? And also I was able to stack so many carrier 2s and use a relic to move into a base on the final round to grab their crown of amphibia, so yay. Huge point swing there. And there was one very human element to the game that in the last round, the Isaro player looked at my secret objective, because they can peek at it, and shared it with the rest of the table and said, oh, there's actually no way Ashton can do this because it requires him to have 2 relics and he just got rid of one of the relics he had. So then the whole table was easing. But actually, as some general said, never interrupt your enemies when they're making a mistake because the card actually read, you have to purge or get rid of 2 relic fragments, not 2 relics, 2 relic fragments. So I actually almost had the game in the bag. Anyways, the game was very, very close at the end. And while I had 11 points, the virus ended up winning because they had the initiative on me. I realized I was so locked in, I forgot to drink water, holy cow. If I could get TI4 with POK for 4 players under 4 hours, it's game over. I would play this constantly. Now, this is not a replacement for 6 player because that's a whole different and more epic experience, but 4 players is still so fun still. And yes, I did the heathen thing. 1, I partnered with the virus early game, so it's like making a deal with the devil. And 2, I played TI4 with under 6 players and actually enjoyed it. That's me. Some more notes on TI4 after having played or seen every single faction of TI4, except for maybe Winu. I'm not sure if someone played this in TI3 or TI4 at this point. Fact is, I've played this game a lot, and there's still so much of the game I haven't seen after reading countless forums, playing the game countless hours, and having a lot of strategy discussions with friends. Every time I play, there's still so much to explore, there's so many more misplays I'm making that give me incentive to play again. And because of the politics, the game still works with newcomers. And as we get better at playing the game, I found myself enjoying Support for the Throne more. It's actually good design if the players are being smart about its trading. It's great self-balancing to keep stragglers in the game, and as such, at the end of the game, for many games, like this one, there's 3 to 4 people contesting first. But TI4 isn't complete sunshine and rainbows all the time. Like the setup, takedown, and sheer amount of leaders you have to remember is sometimes a lot for me. But it's really worth it, because when I look back, TI4 is always a game I find myself remembering and wanting to play again. While Sid Meier's Civilization, the board game, which I didn't get to play this year, has a more satisfying ramp up and hilarious civilization interactions, it can also have incredibly feels bad moments, and as such can lead to really bad feeling games, which TI4 at worst has been an 8 out of 10 in my experience. But I do feel the round 3 lull, which sets up the epic round 4 and 5, but I've really started to feel it in this particular match with certain AP players, and I just want to kind of hurry up this round 3 to get to the cool things. But man, I'm shocked how consistently intense the final 2 rounds, that is again rounds 4 and 5, are. So that's a wrap up for the end of the year. It's not that TI4 is not good anymore. It's still my favorite game. It's just that as I've played so many other games and wanted to come back to this and gotten better at games in general, at least I hope so, that the focus is now to just finish a game of this. Just get this game finished so we can see all of its awesomeness. So with 6 players possible and now 4 players possible, we can play with 5 as well. We can play with 7 if we have a lot of time. TI4 is still very solidly my favorite game of all time. Oh, by the way, I lost every single game I mentioned this year, so I'll be back in force next year against my rivals. They better watch out. Happy New Year, everyone.